Hey guys, so I'm really new to the VTuber community, so I wanted to start watching some videos and reacting to them about the VTuber community, some of the things going on inside of them, how to become a VTuber and a content creator as a whole, and try to pursue this path to make myself better. So today I have 3 videos lined up that we're going to watch. All of their links will be in the description. Go over, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so let's get started with the first video.
Now, more than ever, and especially since 2020, you see all these how to start VTubing for free types of videos on YouTube. And there are new debuts almost every day, it feels like. Most videos about starting VTubing mostly tend to address the visual aspect of how to make or get a model, how to set up a stream, etc. But there's a lot that isn't covered that goes on behind the scenes that I'd argue is extremely important to be aware of. A lot of these things are also topics that VTubers who are just entering the scene could benefit a great deal from considering before they do, so I want to talk about them. Hi, I'm EG, and no, I'm not especially big VTuber or one that debuted all that long ago, but I've been around the VTubing scene and had friends involved in it since before the COVID boom of English VTubers, and I've seen some things. Now, this isn't going to be advice per se, but more so just like a heads up about what's going on out there. If you're a hobbyist VTuber not looking to make it a career, you won't have to worry too much about this stuff, but for anyone who would like to seriously pursue it, you might want to take a listen. If you aren't a VTuber at all and want
I'm glad to hear this because I don't know anything when it comes to this, and I'm just kind of going in blind.
watching this, I hope this gives you a little more appreciation for how hard your favorite indies are working. So I'm gonna break the ideas I'm gonna talk about down into a couple categories, which are the skills needed for VTubing, including what sorts of abilities and personality traits predispose some towards success, regardless of their model or other factors, the hidden tasks of VTubing, aka the reason why a lot of VTubers either want or already have a manager, the actual costs of VTubing, including physical equipment, technology, art, and some other things you might not immediately think of, and the issues with the current expectations placed on VTubing.
I want to touch on the actual costs of equipment because I started going into this completely blind, and I've already sunk a decent amount of money while trying to get most of everything free. Like, I've purchased a new $100 or so microphone. I think it was like 130 bucks. I needed to beef up my computer a bit because it was struggling majorly when I first tried to record or stream anything. And it is shockingly expensive. And like, that's not even including the model or anything. Like, I am using a completely free model that I found online. Links are on my channels and everything. And I've heard of these models that are going up for like several thousands of dollars. That's insane to me. So I'm excited to learn more about this and everything else.
YouTubers, usually as a result of corporate standards, including things like parasocialism, objectification, overworking, and more. Sounds kind of bleak, right? But I promise it isn't entirely. For every darker part of VTubing, there are equal and opposite things to love about it. But I don't want people getting into VTubing with the wrong expectations or without at least partially understanding what goes on behind the scenes. First up are the skills needed for VTubing. Note that I've said VTubing, but the assumption here for most people is that this means streaming. It's probably no secret that some people are just better at making this type of content than others. It's the most common path for YouTubers right now, and there are some specific skills that are necessary to succeed at it. There are other avenues too, aside from streaming, like making edited content, but they often require the same skills too, so there's no skimping out. In a broad sense, organization and time management are a must. Picking a schedule and sticking to it, leading to consistency and trust from viewers, is the goal here. Whether this means a streaming schedule, posting schedule, video schedule, or something else, I'm gonna keep stressing this, consistency is key. If you are somebody who has a job, lifestyle, or other factors that can get in the way and cause you to have to cancel things last minute relatively often, or you frequently need to take extended amounts of time away, then being a live streaming VTuber might not be the best path for you, and you should consider other routes. Letting viewers down over and over again with canceled streams is super harmful to building an audience, and sadly, secondarily, consistency is what just about every social media platform algorithm favors. So by not having it, you are actively shooting your potential success in the foot. So even if you become a YouTube video VTuber, keeping your posting schedule consistent can still be really important, but it's more forgiving than other options maybe. And I'm saying this as somebody with a varied schedule who knows they were doing better when consistent, but I will be the first to say that it isn't easy. Aside from consistency and scheduling,
I want to touch on the consistency thing because, oh my god, I've watched so many videos trying to figure this stuff out and learn, because the easiest way to learn is by watching how other people have done it. And that is something that they have hammered home in almost every single one of these, is that consistency is key. I'm working on it. I'm trying to keep myself consistent. I try to stream around 8 p.m. like every day to every other day. And just trying to keep uploads regular and keep everything nice and try to have an actual time management workflow. And it's pretty hard. Like, I don't know how some of these people have done it, because, like, I have a job. I work most of the day. I think my shifts vary, so it's hard. Like, I've worked 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. It's very varied. So it's hard to have that consistent schedule. So it's really a wonder how some people are actually, like, doing.
You need to be organized also, for the sole reason that VTubing has so many moving parts. Unless you have a lot of money to pay others to do things for you, you'll have to manage and promote yourself, which is more work than you might immediately think, and I'll get into that a little more later. On a related note, if you don't have the money for a manager, a video editor, or someone to cover other skills, you should do yourself a favor and practice them. A vast majority of growth comes from creating content on other platforms that redirect viewers to your streams. This means evergreen content and presence on sites other than Twitch. So with the power of video editing and others on your side, you'll have a leg up in promoting your streaming or other activities because of those skills. The next factor is that you have to be entertaining. And this should be a no-brainer in some ways, but if you aren't somebody who can talk for long periods of time, has a sense of humor, comes up with bits on the fly, or something else fun going on, you need to get some practice before you start expecting results from VTubing. Think about why someone would watch you. Do others think you're really funny? Are you really knowledgeable about something or good at teaching it? What skills do you have that someone would want to take a chunk out of their busy life to watch? Especially when they could watch other VTubers doing something similar. And be honest with yourself here. I don't want to sound too harsh, but there are sadly a lot of VTubers out there streaming to 2 or maybe 3 people, not experiencing any growth in their brand because they can't entertain viewers enough to keep them around. Thankfully, this is something you can practice, so if you aren't confident in your ability to do this stuff right now, you can analyze how others are succeeding at it to learn from and implement yourself. Next is something that sounds kind of funny to say.
Hey, that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Because I've tried the streaming thing. I get 1 or 2. Thank you two who have shown up to the streams and talked to me. And it's really difficult to try to keep talking. Like, I was honestly actually really shocked starting out. Because I was like, oh, hey, these people just sit here and talk to a camera, and yeah. And they built up this giant community. How did they do that? Oh my god, talking is so hard. Like, I have honestly sat there for like 15 minutes before, not knowing what to talk about or how to talk or lead on any conversations by myself. It's just really weird. But it's something that can definitely be learned and practiced. That's what I'm doing here. As she said, you want to practice the things like editing and everything else. And that's what this video is. I'm learning to edit. I am learning to try to be able to talk and have these conversations. And this is really all just about self-improvement.
But you need networking skills. All careers require this for advancement. That's why they say it's who you know, not what you know, when it comes to getting a good job or a promotion. YouTubers often talk about this in terms of like wanting to make friends on Twitter, and yeah, sometimes that's how it goes, but I and others would argue that a lot of YouTuber collaborations and interactions also happen from purely a business standpoint of associating together than benefiting from it together. And that's not a bad thing. It's also the reason why there is so much of an issue with clout chasing in the VTubing community. New VTubers who are close friends with established VTubers can end up with a springboard that propels them farther faster. So that's why this issue keeps showing up over and over again. Being comfortable with networking and being outgoing enough to be the one that's reaching out to others is part of the recipe for success. To my introverts, you will have to step out of your comfort zone, or at the very least, be adopted by an extrovert who wants you to meet their friends. And the final skill I want to mention here is that you need.
And that is my biggest fear in this industry for trying to go out there, is I am extremely introverted. I am terrified of most conversations, and reaching out to people is an actual nightmare. I try to avoid that at all costs. Like, funnily enough, even like talking to my family is dreadful. I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but I have an extreme fear of messaging anybody I know. And it's weird too, because I love when they message me, so I can only assume people enjoy being messaged and having those conversations and interactions, but it's just like starting them that is just so hard to do.
Drive. Having drive or motivation requires an innate passion to keep improving, doing more, trying new things, and reflecting on your strengths or weaknesses. Without drive, this all falls apart. If your drive is fueled by wanting to join a corporation, wanting to play games all day instead of going to work, wanting to be famous, or just wanting money, none of those things are inherently realistic or healthy motivators and aren't sustainable in the long run. You need to set realistic, intrinsic goals for yourself and think deeply on why you want to make content this way. Becoming complacent in your content, continue to do what everyone else is doing and not continuing to strive for more are ways that you'll lose your audience retention and stagnate. And you can tell when people are making unmotivated content or when a streamer has lost their passion for streaming, and it can be so sad to witness. Finding a source of passion that's sustainable is the best path forward here. So, polishing all these skills can mean the difference between being a partnered streamer while using a basic PNG tuber model versus having thousands of dollars worth of beautiful model art and overlays, but streaming to less than 10 viewers for months or even years. So now we'll move on to the hidden tasks of VTubing. For fun, let me give you a rundown of all the things your average indie VTuber's probably doing often, and maybe all in the same day sometimes. Planning a schedule at the beginning of the week and making a graphic of it, buying games as needed for streaming, reaching out to other VTubers to plan collabs, researching, planning, and recording content for TikTok so that they'll have a post most days of the week, editing those recorded videos, which can take hours, then cross-posting those videos to YouTube Shorts and Instagram, making it usually at least one post on each social media platform they're active on a day, which could be 5 or more posts total, editing thumbnails, corresponding with artists for commissions, working on art, music, or something else for evergreen content, streaming for 10 to maybe 15 hours a week or more, posting when they go live on all social media sites, networking with other VTubers on Twitter, reaching out or replying to sponsorship emails, planning events like charity streams, donathons, or subathons, learning to use technology for their streams, researching and investing into merch, participating in their Discord servers and others, and more! All on top of often having a job or being a student. Okay, and however long you think most of these tasks take, add an hour or maybe 3 to it. This is time-consuming stuff. And if all that wasn't enough already, none of it accounts for all the front-end work that goes into getting started as a VTuber. The first-time setup of OBS and Streamlabs, learning to use the programs required for using your model, installing plugins, making your website, setting social media accounts, and more is a ton of hard work that begins often even before you fully begin working as a VTuber. Whatever you
It is actually insane how long it took me to set up OBS. Setting up OBS was an absolute mess. It took me like a week. Several tutorial videos, just trying to set everything up. And then even then, during my streams, my audio is probably still scuffed even now. It is work. Like an insane amount. And wow. Like, setting up a noise gate to block the background while having it still pick up my voice, that alone took me like 30 minutes of just fidgeting with a slider. It's a lot more than I thought it would be. Really is.
You can't pay others to do for you, such as editing highlight videos, is something you will have to learn to do for yourself. Becoming a jack of all trades who can use programs like Canva, Photoshop, After Effects, Premiere, DaVinci Resolve, and more is almost a requirement then. And learning all of those programs also takes time if you aren't already familiar with them. Being your own manager, promoter, content editor, and often even your own artist takes a ton of time. I'm saying the word time so much here, but I can't say this all enough. It's hard work, and hard work takes up precious hours. This is all massive to juggle, and it's why I was stressing organization and drive earlier, because those are the things that fuel you through all these hoops you'll be jumping through. This is also the reason why a lot of VTubers either want or already have a manager, but that requires being financially stable to a degree to afford, so affording a manager or not does bring me to the next point then, which is the actual costs of VTubing. This is where all of those how to be a VTuber for free videos are actually somewhat helpful, as you can always find free emotes, overlays, schedule layouts, backgrounds, and even models you can use to cut corners on cost. These all of course come come at the cost of customizability being low, but it's a great way to test the waters and figure out if VTubing is even for you before you go and drop $1,000 or so on a model and more for custom assets. Pretending, however, that you want to buy everything nice and custom up front, here are some median or rough prices to think about. Character design is usually about between $100 and $200. Live 2D art and rigging is also between $1 and $2K, unless you're getting a small, less detailed model from a less established artist or something very refined and complicated, which will be more. A 3D model can be comparable in price. Emotes can run you up to or over $200 depending on how many you get and how detailed they are. Stream backgrounds and overlays are usually between $100 and $200 each. Stream alerts significantly vary by complexity, but can also be a couple $100 for a couple of them. Stingers will be up to or over $100. You get the gist. We're now looking at somewhere beyond $3K for the whole package here. It is an investment, and the most expensive thing you can do after getting all of that set up is rebrand. So sit with your character design and branding ideas for a bit before committing. If you'd like some more tips on VTuber design, I have a video on it too. Alternatively, if you can't afford all that,
that links back to what I said earlier when I was talking about the cost of models just being absolutely insane. And I understand it is a lot of work. I am not an artistic person. I cannot imagine having someone come up to me and be like, I want something like this, and just pitch me 3 ideas, and I have to somehow bring that to life? What? It's absolutely insane. And then there's the rigger who sits there and sets the model up and has to add all the toggles and everything else. That is so much work. And it just costs so much money to start out. That list was insane. Where was it?
up to or over 100. You get the gist. We're now looking.
Yeah, oh my god. I am using a free pack of stingers for my streaming. I have free overlays and everything else, so right there, that cuts that out. The free model. And yeah, it's not the best, but it gets the job done. Because it's expensive, guys. It is insane, the prices.
At somewhere beyond 3K for the whole package here. It is an investment, and the most expensive thing you can do after getting all of that set up is rebrand. So sit with your character design and branding ideas for a bit before committing. If you'd like some more tips on VTuber design, I have a video on it too. Alternatively, if you can't afford all that but want the customization, you could do what I did, make your own design, model, overlays, and all of that. But that takes years of artistic practice to build up to before even committing the time to make the actual things you need. And do keep in mind that with art, there are very successful VTubers who are Twitch partners using affordable PNG tuber models or even free models, and this is what I was talking about earlier with the skills and personality traits being more useful. You could instead take that money that would have gone towards an expensive model and take singing lessons, acting lessons, pay for a course on video editing or animation, or find some other way to level up your skills. And I'd be willing to bet that you could get further faster with those things. Just a thought. So, moving on, as great as it may be that you can somewhat dodge the asset costs if you're okay sacrificing customization, there are corners you absolutely cannot cut, specifically related to computer hardware. If you plan on a model on your computer while also streaming and playing a game, that's a lot to ask of a computer, especially in the day of age of huge graphically intensive and unoptimized games that we are currently in. I have a PC I built in 2020 with parts that were about a year or two old, and it's already almost completely outdated for VTubing. And unless I got a newer graphics card, I wouldn't be able to stream and play a game at the same time. There are more budget-friendly builds you could probably find for streaming, and I'm no tech wizard. But if your computer needs an upgrade, you'll need to be prepared to invest several hundred or even $1,000 or so into it depending on what parts you need. Graphics cards. To stream, you'll also need a relatively robust internet plan so that your bitrate, upload, and download speeds, among other things, will be able to keep up with your demands. And let me tell you, that isn't especially cheap either, especially depending on where you live. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's expensive. And if you need to edit your own videos, you'll need a pretty decent chunk of RAM and a solid graphics card, or else you'll be dealing with crashes and freezes from Premiere or DaVinci Resolve. And I'd say that as if you didn't already need those things to run your model and stream and play games, but I just really want to highlight how necessary it is. A decent computer and Wi-Fi plan are things you can't skip, and if you aren't lucky enough to already have them, you're gonna need to budget them in. Furthermore, while you can get away with being cheap on most of the rest of your setup, do yourself a favor and splurge or upgrade your mic as soon as you can. There are $200 USB mics that can be great to get you started, but you'll probably want to upgrade as soon as you can afford it, because poor audio quality is a very effective way to scare new viewers away. And finally, Finally, if you don't want to manage or edit for yourself, you'll have to be able to afford editors and managers, which can add up a ton. Things like paying for mixes for songs, paying distributors like DistroKid to have your songs on Spotify, making down payments on merch, buying games to stream, paying program licenses, Adobe, and so much more are also costs you may have to tackle at some time or another. Plus, there's always more extras to be upgrading to in like every department here. So, even if we're only looking to get a new PC and a better Wi-Fi plan, it can be well over $1,000. Over 4K then, including all the custom assets, and I'd be willing to bet close to 5K or more total for adding a manager and editors into the mix. I may still be lowballing this depending on the level of quality involved, or maybe you can find some more affordable ways of doing things and this is a tad high, but can you afford that even just at the lowest amount of 1K? And it's for this reason that I highly advise against quitting your day job to commit all of your time to VTubing from the start. You likely won't see enough money coming from VTubing to support you for months or even years after you start. All of this, and I won't even get into paying taxes as a VTuber. That is a many-headed beast and a topic I am not qualified to speak on, but there are so many VTubers committing tax fraud. Be careful, y'all. And for those of you who are thinking, oh, I'll just join a corpo for financial stability, do recall that like all the girls at Sundaria pretty much had second jobs still, as well as many other small corporations, and that K9 Kuro, among others, left Niji Sanji essentially because they wound up in an insane amount of tax debt because of them that they wouldn't help sort out. Which, the mention of corporations here brings us to our final category, the expectations placed on VTubers. In many ways, Hololive and Niji Sanji set the standard for what VTubing is, and as an indie streamer, you are always competing with them for viewers. When corporate streamers are live almost every day of the week for several hours, releasing covers and original songs and music videos and merch every month or so with beautiful debuts and, all of the whole works, it's just an unattainable standard for us. Sadly, however, it's what we end up having to compete with. Agency talents are already overworked, even with the help of management, and the indie VTubers who strive for that level of professionalism and activity are burning themselves and their wallets to the ground for it. And this is the reality of the VTubing landscape right now. It's unhealthy, encourages a terrible work-to-life balance, but it's what ends up being almost the requirement for success. Aside from setting the work standard, these corporations have also set the standard for relationships between VTubers and their audiences. By encouraging parasocial relationships and allowing or encouraging the sexualization of their talents, they make many viewers come to treat indie VTubers the same way. Some corporate VTubers have expressed their discomfort with it. Heck, most of Niji Sanji has something about it in their stream rules now, but when their agency is releasing voice packs and wedding-themed events, it's been kind of counterproductive to all that. Corporate VTubers are also often playing characters, and this has led audiences to not treat them as real human beings anymore. Whether by holding them at unattainable standards, getting upset if they address real-life issues, holding them to that can't be in a relationship idol type deal, or other things. This parasocialism and treatment bleeds over into the indie sphere, where viewers become very attached to VTubers, place them on a pedestal and attempt to enforce their expectations on relationship status and more on them. And while it is possible to build a community with tight guidelines and enforced rules to create a more comfortable space, that can take a lot of time and effort to cultivate. It's worth it, but it can be taxing that this isn't just the default state of viewers, and it takes a thick skin to push through if things aren't under control from the start. And the last key thing corporations—
That's insane to me. I have noticed that in a lot of the streams I've watched. Well, there's the sexualization and just uncomfortableness of it. I've always thought it was weird, and I figured that it was just one-off randos doing that. But knowing that that is actually encouraged by large companies, they have their talents go through that, that's screwed up. That's just very uncomfortable. I don't know. And nothing against those, I believe they're called lewd tubers and all that, all the power to them. They want to do that. That's the kind of content they enjoy. Good for them. They ask for that. But having people join random chats and everything and just starting off doing that off the hop and just kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Unsolicited advances, that's screwed up. That's insane that happens to people.
have set a really rough standard on is debut culture. Having the classic debut with a model reveal, lore video, PowerPoint slides, and often an accompanying song and merchandise puts a lot of stress on new VTubers to have a really great, polished one, because the idea is that a really great debut will win you over a strong audience to start with. If you've never streamed before, this can be an especially stressful event because it'll leave you open to technical issues that you don't realize could even happen, which then dealing with live during what's supposed to be an important event leads to just a really rough time. And putting together all of those assets for the debut itself is often not very affordable. I and many others would argue that a great debut can be nice and all, but that the slow growth resulting from just getting in there, practicing, and streaming to a small audience is even better. Getting all the technical kinks worked out, getting practice speaking in front of an audience, and becoming comfortable with the platform before having a so-called debut can be really beneficial. That way, you can really put your best self forward once you do. I know a lot of people complain about pre-debut V-tweeters or whatever, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking more about the training arc VTubers who started streaming in advance of debuting. So, with all of that in mind, corporations have really shaped the scene, and often not in an especially great way or otherwise healthy way. After hearing all this, it sounds a little bleak, and I want to reassure you that it isn't all as bad as I'm making it out to be. This is my most negative video I've made, and it really saddens me to do so. But I feel like a lot of the topics I'm bringing up here are things VTubers who've been around for a while discuss amongst themselves, while newcomers are just kind of shocked upon discovering and stumbling into themselves. It's why so many VTubers are debuting and graduating within the same year. VTubing is hard, has a lot of moving parts, and requires a lot of time and professional skills to excel at. Just like any job, and like any other job, it's not going to be the right fit for everybody, sadly. So, I want to stress, don't let me scare you away from wanting to try VTubing out. Get in there, get your toes wet with some affordable or free assets, and figure out if it's even for you in the first place before you invest. And if you've no intentions of becoming a VTuber and watched all the way through here anyways, well, thank you, but also I hope this gives you a newfound appreciation and respect for how much your favorite indies are doing to stay afloat. I'm not sure if this is really like a got your wheels turning type of video here, so much as a bit of like a warning stamp, but maybe I'll say instead, I hope y'all are feeling a little better informed now. If there are any other VTubing or art-related things you'd like to hear my 2 cents on, do let me know in the comments below, but thanks y'all for being here, and I hope that this wasn't too sad. I'll see y'all later. Farewell.
I must say that I am really thankful that you made this video, because yeah, a lot of it is stuff I didn't know, and I am honestly genuinely shocked, especially that whole like how the corps are trying to advance this sexualization of their talents. But past that, it's like some of this stuff I've already experienced, and I've been doing this stuff for less than a week. Like, that is insane. And it's really good that there is someone in the sphere that makes this kind of negative content. Like, she said she hadn't yet, and this was her first one, but this is stuff that honestly is really useful to know and needs to be known, in my opinion. So, once again, all the videos we're watching today I will be linking in the description so you can check out their channels. And let's move on to the next one.
Welcome to my how to plan content stream, tutorial, whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk about the process that I use and that I'm using for my friend Haru to actually like figure out what he wants to do from a content perspective, which platforms we want to target, and how much time we actually want to spend on it. Let's get into it. So, a few guiding principles that I think are really important when you are planning content or trying to get a schedule for yourself together so that you know what you're pushing toward are first and foremost, like, syndicate your content whenever possible. And if you don't know what that means, I'm basically just saying, if you are doing, for instance, a 2-hour stream on Twitch, there's no reason that you can't turn that Twitch stream into a YouTube video and also a couple of shorts. Like, if you're already investing time and content on one particular platform, you should always be looking for...
I feel like an idiot. I haven't been doing that. I've gone on 3 different Twitch streams, and I hadn't made a short yet as of recording this. I hadn't cut them up into videos. I don't even know. That is advice. Follow that.
ways to... Yes, say hi, YouTube. You know, you should always be looking for ways to cut that and spin that into content that will serve you in other places. That's not to say that you should never have like an original piece of content. I actually think that you should. However, we know that we've got like 1 million platforms these days. There's Instagram and TikTok and X, formerly Twitter. There's Twitch. There's just a million different places where you might potentially get some exposure. So I find it's easiest to work smarter and not harder. So anytime you're looking to schedule what you do, I recommend being super mindful of places that you can repurpose some of that. When it comes to setting goals, if you sit down and say, I'm gonna crank out 3 YouTube videos and 15 shorts, and I'm gonna stream 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week for 6 hours each, like, you are not going to hit those goals unless you've got literally nothing else going on. And sometimes when you are watching other creators, it can be easy to think, wow, like, they're always posting on other platforms and they stream every single day of the week. I feel like such a loser because I can't do that. But your situation is probably different than theirs. So try not to compare yourself and what you can do to what other people can do. And know that even if you don't have 100 hours a week to dedicate to content creation, you can still be successful and have fun in this space. The next
For goals, I think right now where I'm sitting, the goals I've made are I want to release 3 to 4 videos a week minimum. And I think that's a good start because that shouldn't be too hard. And that's a lot of practice for me being able to edit everything and figuring all that stuff out. Streaming, I want to stream at least every other day because I am enjoying it. And sitting there, I'm playing Monster Hunter Wilds right now. I've been really enjoying that game. So I'm having fun streaming that. And then as for shorts, I don't know how to really make them quite yet. I feel like they're more of a like in the moment something funny happens, clip it, ship it kind of thing.
guiding principle, focus on only a few platforms. Like I mentioned earlier, there are tons of spaces where you could be posting things, and it can feel a little overwhelming. In my opinion, if you go into your schedule each week or each month and you're like, okay, I have to post something on every platform, that's going to be kind of tough because you're spreading yourself thin. You may or may not have time to really dedicate to each individual one. So I recommend taking a look at all available options and picking maybe 2 to 4 that you really want to grow in. Like for me, I tend to prioritize TikTok and YouTube over Twitch. I prioritize TikTok because short form content is super easy to make, and I can see actually in my analytics that my content rotates and is viewed by a lot more people there than it is here. So for me, it hits that perfect intersection of, is it easy and do I get a lot of reward and payoff for doing it? That's my experience. You might have a different experience depending on the platform, but I know that I like to do or spend my time in places where I feel I'm gonna actually get traction and it feels good. Not that you should necessarily be like going for numbers if that's not what you're into, but I am someone that needs a little bit of a payoff. Also, thank you for the
Yeah, I think for the platforms I'm mostly focusing on are definitely Twitch and YouTube. I've been debating starting up for TikTok and like Instagram Reels. I don't know which one I'd want to do. I probably wouldn't do both because that's a lot of work. And as I said earlier, I don't really know how the short form content works. And I'm still really learning on that one. I haven't even made an account on either of those yet. I really got to get on that. But focusing on a few platforms, I would definitely agree is probably a great idea, at least from my new starting out perspective, because it's stressful and managing everything on like 7 different platforms at once. I don't even know where I would begin with doing that.
sub, Amy. 25 months, holy cow, thank you. I appreciate it. Welcome in. So, my recommendation is to focus on only a few platforms, do a little research, but also see what feels good to you. Because honestly, if you don't enjoy creating content or posting on a particular platform, you're probably not going to be consistent in doing it. So, do what feels good and also what makes sense. And then my last guiding principle for content creation is a plan only works if you work it, which seems probably really obvious, but I think a lot of us have the best of intentions and will sit down and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do this weekend. This is how many hours I'm spending on this particular thing. But then if you don't actually work the plan, you aren't going to see any results whatsoever. So like, it should go without saying, but I feel it bears reminding, if you put down on paper what you are actually going to do, you have to do it in order for it to work. All right, so without further ado, I am going to hop over and take a look at a plan that I created for Haru. And it feels weird to say created for him because I actually created it with him. I started out by talking through a little bit of like a questionnaire with him to kind of understand what his goals were and what he was looking to do and what he's interested in. And then we basically transformed that into a plan for the month of November. So, voila! Oh my God, I'm too big. Hang on. Must be smaller. And let me move myself out of the way here. Okay. I think we're better. I think this is viewable. So starting on like the left-hand side of the page, I really wanted to make this a one-pager. I think he likes dogs. Yes, how astute. How astute you are, Merc. Very, very good observation. For those of you that don't know Haru, he is a dog VTuber. He's Haru the Goldie. And he's a photographer. Did I get it right? Because he also likes photography. It's very cute. But I tried to make his page with branding because I think if you like looking at something, you'll be more likely to pull it up. If you wanted to do something like this in a plain text file, honey, you absolutely could. It doesn't have to look like this. Starting on the left-hand side, Haru and I talked a little bit about his desired platforms, or the platforms that he wants to target growth for. And he determined that those were YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. I think those are really good picks. They also happen to match my same priorities, so I agree wholeheartedly with that and think it's a good plan. So the next thing that we talked about, given those platforms, is how many hours a week he actually has to dedicate to content creation. And this is really important. Like, this actually goes back to what I said about being really realistic about your time. So Haru actually literally has 20 hours a week to dedicate to this, and that's not a stretch. That fits comfortably into his schedule based on his life situation. Looking at how much time Haru actually has to dedicate to content creation and what he wants to focus on, we came up with this distribution of how he's going to spend his time. And this is weekly. That's a pretty tall order. Again, if you don't have 20 hours a week to dedicate to content creation, you're maybe gonna set these goals a little lower. Another thing that I tried to do here, and it's something that I also try to do for myself, which can be hard sometimes, is trying to set my goals surrounding the amount of time that I can invest. So I try to really set goals surrounding how much time I can invest and not necessarily a finished product. Because if you say, okay, well, each week I'm gonna churn out 2 YouTube videos, if you don't have enough time and you can't actually complete 2 videos, you're probably gonna feel bad about that. You shouldn't feel bad because you worked really hard regardless, so it doesn't actually matter so long as you're making progress. But for me, mentally, I have to set goals that are more geared at what I can contribute and less at output. For yourself, if you feel good about setting goals that are
Something I haven't thought about it in that way is finding out how many hours you realistically have in a week to be able to like put into the content creation, and thinking about it that way. I don't know if I have, because I've been doing it from around 8, 9 at night to about 2 a.m. setting things up. That's like 5 hours, give or take, a day, 7 days a week, so 35 hours. That's assuming I'm not taking any breaks, I'm actually doing it all the time. So realistically, it's a lot less than that. So I'd probably clocking in at like maybe 20 as well, capping it. And then dividing that up between the streaming and then making the videos and all that, that's not a lot of time. When you actually like think about it. Like making this video just from watching these and doing the reactions to them, I've already been here for over an hour. And if I'm clocking in 20 hours, that's not a lot of time left when you really think about it.
Driven more surrounding what you're actually able to yield, you can totally do that. But for Haru, I set his goals to be more time bound based on what he has available. Moving on from that, I wanted to do a little bit of a skill assessment for Haru, because when you're planning your content, I think it's really important to think about the things that you do well and the things that are maybe opportunities or areas of improvement, because sometimes you can use content creation as a way to kind of build on either strengths or weaknesses, if you want to call them that. So this is Haru's own words. He said that his strengths are his editing skills, which I can certainly agree with. If you ever come to my stream and see anything moving, it was likely animated by Haru. He's very good with motion graphics and video design. He also said that his sense of humor was a strength. Some of us would say that's debatable, but hey, you know what? Your perception is your reality, for sure. For sure. So those are what he said his strengths were. And his opportunities, he said, were consistency and creating content, which probably sounds really funny, like you're a content creator, but your opportunity is creating content. But for a lot of people, that's true. Like, actually creating content can be tough. And what I find more often than not is that people will go live. Like, they'll just go live and they'll do it like 5 days a week and they'll invest hours and hours streaming. But getting them to create a short or a YouTube video or an Instagram post is like pulling teeth. They don't actually want to create content. They just want to stream and play funny video game, which is fine if that's what you're into. But if you're actually trying to move into other platforms, surprise, surprise, you do need to actually create content. So we're trying to move to a place where we're also investing time in other spaces. And that's kind of the goal. I am the Haru humor appreciator. Somebody has to appreciate it, Maro. Somebody has to appreciate it. So moving on, after we kind of talked a little bit about his strengths and opportunities, thank you for the hype train, by the way, everyone. That's so sweet. I appreciate that.
I want to touch on the strength opportunities thing, specifically the part where she mentioned that you can use the content creation as a way to do self-improvement, which is really how I'm looking at it, because I have literally no skills when it comes into this space. This is my first actual like video I'm trying to fully edit, make a really nice thumbnail for, and have come out looking great. And it's all just a giant learning experience, really. But for my strengths, I would say is dedication, because I plan on keeping this up for until it works. And even if it doesn't work, I'll probably keep doing it because I'm enjoying it. It's something to do, you know? And then I don't know if I have another strength quite yet. I'm a very soft spoken, introverted person. I'm scared of putting myself out there. I'm sure a lot of you feel like that. And I don't know. Maybe it's like relatability, but even then, I'm not that entertaining. So I don't think many people would stick around for that. Opportunities. Yeah, I agree. Consistency. I'm going to be consistently working at this. And I have the opportunity of, I have the setup to be able to do this. And I'm going to keep pushing myself to do it. For interests, I'm very interested in games. Like, first thing I ever did was play Monster Hunter. Figured, hey, why not play the new game? It's a good time to start, you know? And self-improvement content, I guess, would be the way to look at it, because this is part of that. Just learning and then trying to put the stuff I learn into action, I guess, would be the way to phrase it. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna have a niche. I might do a bit of everything. We'll see where I settle.
We moved on to talk about his content interests because I really feel like it's important, again, when you are trying to plan your content, to think about what you actually like doing. That doesn't mean that you're only going to do the same thing over and over again, week after week. But if you know the sorts of things that interest you or that you find entertaining, that can really help to guide and inform the choices that you make in terms of what you want to create. So for Haru, his content interests are RimWorld, Apex, and .exe videos, which are apparently real funny little Apex compilations. So we talked a little bit about that, and if you've been to Haru's stream, you've definitely seen some RimWorld or Apex, so that shouldn't be very surprising. And then the last thing we talked about here is his niche. Niche? I say niche, which he has not yet identified. So I do want to talk a little bit about this because I don't think it is discussed enough, and it is actually, in my most humble opinion, so important to think critically about your niche, which for me is basically what makes you unique in your community. Or you could also consider it as one of the reasons or motivators for people to watch you or consume your content over someone else's. Because if you think about it, there's like thousands and thousands of content creators. There's so many. So in a world where you could view literally anything, why should someone watch you? That can be a really tough question to answer for yourself. For me, my niche has always been one of my, I guess, more defining features is that I am super into tarot cards and astrology. And that's authentically what I'm into, which is important. I'll talk more about that later. But offline, I do a ton of tarot readings. I'm always into astrology. I'm always talking about astrology. So when I created my character, which is Jinxie, she's an astrologer. Everything on stream is themed. And that's what I do. Like if you come to stream, I do tarot card readings and we talk about astrology all the time. So that is a niche. Tarot reading in general in content creation is a smaller niche. And if you look at VTubers, it becomes even smaller than that. So that's kind of what I'm into. And it's important to think about what is unique to you or what defines you. And if you are interested in brand building, which some of you may not be, and that's okay. Everything doesn't have to be a brand. You can log on and just be yourself and do your thing and not think a single thing about it. That is amazing. But if you are interested in brand building, like your niche should make sense. If you know that I'm into tarot and astrology and it's all we ever talk about, and I go live one day and suddenly I'm doing sports commentary, that's probably going to be a little weird. Not to say that you wouldn't stay and watch it. Maybe you would. I don't know. But if you are a long-term community member that has been hanging out with me, it's probably not the content that you expected. And I also think that it's important to do your own thing and find your niche. And what I mean when I say that is sometimes, like, I think it's very easy to look at what other people are doing and see that it's successful and be like, oh, so-and-so is doing this and they get a lot of community engagement and they have channel point rewards for it. And like, that looks like that works. So I'm going to start doing it too. But the thing to remember about that is that works for so-and-so because they are so-and-so. Replicating other people's behaviors and ideas and activities is not a guarantor of you having same or even similar results, because you're a different person. You're going to do it in a different way. You're going to be engaging with a different community. So as tempting as it can be to like look over the fence at what your neighbor is doing and try to just like copy paste, please.
I think that's an excellent point, is how something works for someone because they are someone. They have built up that reputation, they built up their community around that thing, and that's why it works. So just randomly starting something that hasn't been there or brand new doesn't really overly work. That makes a lot of sense to me. So it's about finding your niche, which I don't think is something I can overly do right away. I think that's definitely something that will take a lot of time. I feel like that's less so something that me would find out, and more so as I'm doing stuff would be something that is built upon with you guys, the viewers. At least that's how I feel about it. I think that that's more of a two-way street than just having it happen.
Please, 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 like take time to reflect on what you are about and what you're into, and if you care at all about branding, what you want your brand to be. So lastly, in the creator assessment, we have some goals, and I find that it is really important to set non-numeric goals. And if you care about numbers, you can set numeric goals. I'm never gonna sit here and tell you, as someone who IRL works in tech, I am a woman in STEM, I'm never gonna tell you that you can move a number without even knowing what the number is or what you want the number to be, because that's not really a truth. But I will say that if you don't want to know your numbers, you don't care, that's fine. Set a non-numeric goal. And I think even if you do set a numeric goal, you should still set a non-numeric one so that there's less pressure. So for Haru's non-numeric goal, he said that he wanted to do some community building and he wanted to continue to grow his editing skills. So the community building comment kind of takes me back up here. You'll notice that we said that he would have 2 hours a week that he would spend on Discord. And that was not something that he originally said he wanted to do. That's something I told him he would do. Because if you want to work on community building, you have to actually engage with them. So I thought it would be important to carve out some time to actually engage with his community a little bit more than he has been. That could be in the form of watch-alongs, a question of the day that everybody can answer, sharing your favorite memes. It doesn't have to be rocket science, just these are people that you generally like and hang out with on stream, so say hello. That's it. And that's community building.
Yeah, the Discord thing is a great call, actually. I seen someone else doing it, and most of the communities I've been a part of also have a Discord. And it really makes sense, as that's a place for the community. It's where you have the most direct talking with the people, you know? And you can just set up so much stuff there. So I think Discord is actually a great shout on what can be done for community building, and just in general, I think it's the easiest way to get in contact with the people from your community. So I think Discord is just a great tool for this. I'd say for non-numeric goals on my end, I think community building is just kind of something that comes naturally, as I don't really have a community yet, so I don't have anything I can really do to interact with them. So, working on that. But I'd say mine is I want to improve my editing skills. I want to figure out thumbnails more and kind of get that stuff up and rolling and get more eyes on what I'm doing, I guess would be the phrase. But for numeric goals, I want to say by the end of this month, March. It is March, right? February, March. Yeah, it's March. Yay, I know what month it is. By the end of this month, I want to have, let's say, 10 subscribers and 20 followers on Twitch that are not bots. That is a very important thing with Twitch. They're bots. And I think that is completely reasonable and doable.
There's nothing saying that you're going to have an instant result, but yeah, if you want people to hang out with you, you have to talk to them. So that's step number one. And then for continuing to grow editing skills, that's really going to feed back into the heavy amount of time that we are spending on YouTube and on TikTok. I only allowed him 4 hours a week of stream time. So he can do 2 sessions for 2 hours, whatever that looks like. And of course, if he has extra time, he can throw it there. But his priorities really need to be spent over here because streaming is the easy thing for him. Where he sometimes struggles is in some of these other areas. So we want to prioritize spending time on the things that we're less comfortable with so that we can begin to get comfortable with them. In terms of his numeric goals, he said that he wanted 5 new followers on each platform, and that's in a month. So in a month, I feel like that's pretty realistic. You can do that in a month. And we feel pretty good that if he works this plan, he'll get there. Again, remember the guiding principle. Do what's realistic for you. If you sit down and say, I'm gonna get 100 new followers on each platform in 1 month from doing these things, that's probably not gonna happen. I love your ambition, but it's probably not a thing. So just set your goals to be as realistic as possible. And if you surpass them, awesome, you can readjust them next month. And then metrics that matter were average viewers and followers. So those are 2 metrics that he's going to be looking at. We did not set a goal for average viewers yet because average viewers, especially on Twitch, can be a really tough needle to move and to move consistently or maintain. So that's why we set numeric goals that would be much easier to maintain to help build his confidence and contribute to that community so that later he can focus more on average viewers. So that was Haru's creator assessment. And after spending time kind of talking through these things, that's where I came over here to his November content plan to actually start talking about what we're looking for in terms of results. So we said in the month of November, we're gonna look for at least 1 YouTube video per week. Again, to harken back, that could be pretty aggressive if you don't have a lot of time. For me, I try to get 1 YouTube video up a month because I don't have a lot of time. But for Haru, 1 video per week is doable. So that's where we set that goal. We said that he would post 4 TikTok shorts per week. If you remember talking about how we need to syndicate or repurpose content, making 4 shorts is an awesome opportunity to also cross-post those to YouTube shorts. Especially if they are not using copyrighted music. Try to avoid those if you are cross-posting for sure. As I said, we're doing 2 streams per week, and then I set a goal for him to do 1 watch along in his Discord. I think that's fun. Just doing 1 per month for the month of November should be pretty attainable and also fun. Selfishly, I would like to attend. So, get it scheduled, get it on the books. I sat down and looked at potential game suggestions for Haru because Haru does excel in being able to find titles that he's really interested in, but sometimes Haru struggles a little bit with community and chat engagement with his games. So notice that when we talked about his content interests, he said RimWorld was one. So I said, okay, RimWorld, let's definitely stream RimWorld, but let's do it with the Twitch integration plugin, which is so freaking fun. It allows your community to actually earn points and put things in your RimWorld. Like you can spawn enemies, you can spawn armor, you can spawn furniture, you can even spawn like new villagers and stuff. When I first started watching Haru, this was one of my favorite streams that he would do because I could actually get really involved and I was super motivated to stay in chat because I wanted to get those points so I could drop a bunch of wolves off at the base and really wreck his shit. So, RimWorld, but with Twitch integration. Another game suggestion that I made for him, which is not one that he mentioned, but it's one that I think he would really enjoy, is Wizard with a Gun. Haru has really chaotic energy. He likes shooters and he really likes collabs. So I thought it would be important to have some form of collab option for him next month so that he can play with other people if he wants to, because he really likes that. And then lastly, I also recommended a solo Baldur's Gate 3 run. We've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 as a group for what we call Fantasy Friday every day for months now, and we have such a great time. But Haru, I think, wants to do some meme builds and make some different decisions, and I think it would be super entertaining. I also think Baldur's Gate 3 is a really great opportunity to maybe offshoot content to other platforms, because between the choices that you make and the endless dialogue options that you have, like, it's hard to see everything in that game. So I think that's another good option. Moving on from game suggestions.
Looking at game suggestions, I think for me right away is I'm going to be finishing Monster Hunter Wilds. That's a big one. I've already started it. And then I've been thinking about what other kind of games I could play, make videos and stream about and all that. And for solo games, I haven't found too much quite yet. But I know that my main friend group that I hang out with, we mostly play League of Legends. I know people hate it. Like, absolutely detest it, but I think playing Arena with them and making some videos about it could be pretty fun, because some funny stuff happens and it's just a good time. And then Helldivers is another one that me and my buddies always play together. So probably will end up uploading some of that. And then maybe some Marvel Rivals. I think that's a pretty good idea for games I could upload and release and all that.
I also wanted to give him some content ideas, which I think are important as you try to like brainstorm what you want to do. If you're just churning, for instance, if you're just like streaming on Twitch and churning out VODs to YouTube, I mean, that is definitely something, but I feel like if you can be a little more strategic in choosing what you actually want to produce and doing storyboards and thinking through what you want that experience to look like, it really helps when it comes to being more effective and creating content that you can be proud of and that others really enjoy. So for content ideas, Haru actually mentioned a narrative-based RimWorld series, which sounded so interesting to me, but it's apparently when you do the full run and then you voice over, which is awesome. You can kind of tell the story of your colony, which sounds incredible. So I absolutely included that. Of course, funny stream clips. Come on. His strength is his sense of humor. So of course we're going to include funny stream clips. And those are pretty easy. You can even have your community help you clip, which is really nice and helps take care of some of the work involved. And then another content idea I had for him is to actually try to do some form of tutorial or series on editing. Because Haru is a very gifted video editor, and I think there's a real opportunity for him to share some of his soft skills with other people. I'm gonna point out that tutorial and educational content does really well, particularly on YouTube. I'm doing it right now. Like, people need help. I need help. I mean, think about it. When you don't know how to do something, what's the first thing you do? For a lot of us, we go to YouTube. So I think if you have strengths in things that you can share with other people, doing a little tutorial is going to be really beneficial for you and other people. So why not do it? And then lastly, for homework,
That's something I really need to work on, touching back to the narrative-based RimWorld series, is they didn't directly say it, but scripting. Because I don't know about storyboards or anything like that. I mostly have been making these videos flying by the seat of my pants. And definitely, I know that script writing and everything, you make that well-polished video, they look so nice, and they're so nice to watch. So that is definitely something I need to work on. And also feeling a little bit called out watching the tutorial content. But yeah, I wonder if there's even anything that I'm really good at that I could make like a tutorial video on. Something to think about. Everybody must be good at something, so I'll probably have something there I could do.
Said that he needs to work on carving out his niche. Like literally. We talked at length about that and why having your niche is important, but yeah, he needs to spend some time thinking about what his is, because once he finds what that is for him, he can build on that. You can build a community around that, and then you get to spend all of your time talking about and doing stuff that you love with cool people. Find your niche, find your people. That's my branding for that. So yeah, this is what I put together for Haru. There's a creator assessment, there's a content plan. This is kind of the approach that I take when planning my own content as well. Mine looks a little bit different since my creator assessment is in my brain, but if you find this helpful and you think this will work for you, you're welcome to steal it shamelessly. Just knock yourself out, talk through whatever you think needs to be talked through with yourself. So with that, that's it. That concludes my overview of how I plan content. Eventually, I would like to talk about how I schedule content, because there is special software that I use that comes with a lot of really neat analytics that even talks about the best times to post things. So when I have time to actually film that, I will post it. If you struggle with posting content to multiple platforms, I think having a tool to help you schedule it out is really helpful, and it's part of how I stay organized. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, you filthy animals.
Well, definitely going to be coming back to watch that video when it's released, if it's not already released. This is a year ago, so it should be out. Because, yeah, that would be super helpful. We want to go further?
Copying. We've all probably done it at some point in our lives. Looking over someone else's answers on a test.
Oh, you're cheating!
Repeating what your friend says to piss them off. Or mimicking the popular memes and trends you see online. In most cases, copying is nothing too problematic. Unless at school, I'd advise you to actually get your education. But these are more personal or fun situations. When it comes to profiting from copying in business and media,
He copied my whole flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
it has far more problems. There's a well-known dilemma in the content space of YouTubers copying other YouTubers, stealing other people's ideas and styles, taking others' content for their own benefit, or mimicking an entire creator's personality. These acts are seen as shameful, rightfully, and usually get called out en masse.
Nah, bro, get that shit out of here!
But there's a community where copying creates a far more controversial dilemma. VTubers, virtual entertainers who use animated avatars for content instead of their go-to faces, is a vast industry built around artistic creativity. But as an artistic industry, people have many principles around what art entails. People value not just good content, they value individuality and originality. And with thousands upon thousands of VTubers that see and perceive each other, and a lot of people wanting to do what works to get popular, things, whether intentionally or unintentionally, begin to overlap. There's a lot of drama surrounding copying, plagiarism, and stealing. VTubers harassed for having similar assets to others, a VTuber whose incessant imitations of one popular VTuber led to industry-wide chaos, or a VTuber profiting thousands off of a right they never owned. It is a wild dilemma, and I feel like yapping again. But before we get into that, I need to make something heavily clear. Do not harass, attack, or dig into anyone mentioned in this video. They'll be on some weird shit. So,
I think that copying is definitely an issue. Like, obviously, I don't think there's even an argument that it's not. But I feel like in a super saturated market like VTubing, there is bound to be overlap and everything. And as long as it's been properly discussed and no malicious intention, I don't think it's too bad. For like, example, there's one they showed back here.
whose incessant imitations of one popular
Yeah. How Shy Lily got copied there. Like, yes, that is definitely pushing it a bit. It's like they have basically the exact same model. I think that is definitely taking it way too far. But like just having some certain aspects, like, okay, you could have the tail and maybe be something completely different. But like that is the exact same hair shape, same ears right there, and the same tail. That's insane. Like that's almost the exact same model. The only difference is like little fins on the legs, same skirt, basically the same shirt. Like that's a little too close for comfort. But I believe that's the difference between copying and then just taking inspiration from. Because taking inspiration from the people in the community, I'd say, is perfectly fine. That's how most art is made, is from a flash of inspiration after you see something. But I would say this is mostly not inspiration. I'd say this is a little too close on the market.
VTuber owned. It is a wild dilemma, and I feel like yapping again. But before we get into that, I need to make something heavily clear. Do not harass, attack, or dig into anyone mentioned in this video. They'll be on some weird shit. So,
Let's talk about it.
hey yo, it's Delano, that fallen angel kicked out of heaven. Get some snacks, get some water, get your friends' homework answers, and let's get on to the video.
I know you like my style. Nasty, gritty, looking pretty while I crack a smile.
Let's fall back a couple of years. Enter the late 2010s. With the rise of Kazuna Ai, the Four Heavenly Kings, and agencies like Hololive and Nijisanji dominating the market over everybody, VTubing became an established Japanese industry. However, in 2020, companies would venture to the West to capture that untapped English-speaking market, Hololive being the first to jump at that opportunity. And right from these VTubers' debut, plus lockdown forcing everyone online,
Stop touching with your hand.
the VTubing golden age began, bringing millions and millions of more fans to the medium. But it didn't just leave an impact on the viewers, no. The growth of VTubers worldwide led tens of thousands to see these VTubers say, I want to do that too, and jump into the growing industry as virtual performers, either by auditioning and joining a VTuber agency, or taking the path as an independent creator. So enter Person A, who wants to become a popular VTuber. Person A knows fuck all what it means to be a successful VTuber. Compared to typical content creation, this shit's all hella new and many people don't know what works. But these VTubers over here are blowing up and holding these audiences well with their personality, character design, voice, and style of content. Light bulb.
I think I'm about to steal.
A lot of aspiring VTubers would use popular VTubers as inspiration. Others would imitate the attributes that were best received in the market. And some would just copy what's trending. Gargur is known for her archetype, voice, and demeanor. Countless VTubers with the same concept. Nyanna's grew in popularity and she had a pink cat avatar? Wow, what a coincidence. I wanted to be a cute cat girl too. And they all are fucking pink! A new song is popular and people are covering it? Although that one anime meme that makes fun of how repetitive or unoriginal isekai anime are, the same bland everyman protagonist, the same fantasy setting, the same conventionally attractive supporting female cast, it's not that isekai anime are that unoriginal. Sorry, I just lied to your face. It's more that despite the isekai trope having so much potential, the market has trends. Market demand shows that consumers love those attributes previously mentioned. And these writers, whether authentic or not, are just filling that in with maybe a singular twist to be successful. So this applies to any type of media and entertainment, including VTubers, idol VTubers, gremlin VTubers, lewdtubers, and then later male VTubers. The demand for these VTubers was high and shit was trending. It's natural for businesses to supply and market themselves around what works for the target demographic. But despite a medium where you can be literally anything, everyone was hella similar. Sometimes a bit too similar. Enter accusations of copying, plagiarism, and straight up stealing. Earlier, I mentioned the many instances of content creators copying and them getting called out. However, I purposely omitted the copying accusations with far less of a basis. Are you an energetic black VTuber that loves playing video games? You're a Corey X Kenshin clone. Do you play Minecraft but with unique challenges? You're a Dream clone. You edit your videos with reaction memes, sound effects, and media B-roll when talking about random shit? You're a Degenerosity clone. Wait a minute. Well, there are definitely people who copy these YouTubers even down to the script. Sometimes it's either a mere coincidence, a spin from inspiration, or just being a similar identity group. And in bad cases, people can get harassed or receive threats for it. So hear me out. I've seen my fair share of VTuber ripoffs, copying dramas, and people just stealing shit. Whether that's tracing, AI generation, or another VTuber's flow. I remember a VTubing app that got called out for having designs that were inspired from other agency VTubers. I remember when one of my mutuals, Kashin Shinobi, got his shit completely ripped by an Etsy artist. Like, who is this?
Who are these niggas?
VTuber copying and
insane.
plagiarism drama goes literally everywhere, and we'll get into the really crazy cases of VTuber plagiarism in a bit. But first, Idol Corp's Yuko Yurei, before she, died, made a viral short where she banned the topic Gargura because people were attacking her design, voice, and mannerisms based on Gura's existence.
She is a big inspiration of mine. However, I am my own individual. I am Yuko Yurei, Idol Corp's Ghost Boogie Blaster.
Also, she was definitely different from Gura in another way. We don't talk about the girlfriend experience members content. During her first months in the
Yeah, so that factors back to what I was saying earlier about how that's inspiration, not copying, very different. And yeah, this is definitely bringing up a lot of ideas in my mind for when I want to make a bottle, though, because I know that I was very scared about when I was thinking about starting this up. Like, okay, what if there's this random VTuber who's like semi-popular that I have no idea who that is, and I end up making a model that looks slightly like them. And it's like, and then I just get blown out of the water for copying. Like, that is a very large fear I'm dealing with. Like, I don't know. But that's where research comes in and trying to figure that out.
VTuber Ray Bubbles got tons of shit due to being called a ripoff of Gargura. And niggas got me scumming my eyes like Mr. Krabs. He said Gura was an inspiration. Her hoodie is similar. All I see is the color blue. I forgot when on her debut day, Gargura officially copyrighted hoodies. And even so, I don't see any point harassing anyone over it. Do y'all not see the big difference? Shawty out here with their chest out, then I look at Gargura like,
Charlie, that's not Earth, right? Dude, that's completely flat. That's 100% flat.
Abelia during her debut month got a ton of shit for being a supposed Shy Lily clone due to, hey y'all, come look at this. Her bangs. Y'all niggas care way too much! Both would a year later get 2.0s and new designs. And the factor for Abelia getting a new design was because she was tired of being constantly compared to Shy Lily. And let me list some other copying accusations I've seen.
And
the constant
that's the
Gatgo
fear I was
VTubers
talking
compared to
about
Nyanners. Rini was compared to one of Nyanners' new models. Mariyumi was compared to not just Nyanners, but the white cat girl from Nekopara.
Hey, who man is this?
Niji Sanji's Watarai Hibari got compared to False ID and got some pretty rude comments because of it. We kinda got people on TikTok comparing him to Genshin characters when he came before Genshin.
You go ask Genshin why they
That's
modeled their
hilarious.
characters after my final.
I've seen other VTubers make posts about being compared to Nina Kasaka, and I wouldn't be surprised if some demon VTubers out there got compared to Iron Mouse. TLDR, whether it's coincidence or totally some inspiration, I'm not in the territory to care or even worse harass people over it. And it's gotten bad to the point that VTubers have had to ban other VTubers' names just to stop it from happening. But whether those allegations go anywhere or not, they don't really have any big community shaking effects. The drama fizzles out as it's from nobodies and people move on. Unless these comparisons get the attention of bigger content creators. In 2022, indie VTuber Shy Lily would make a grand model debut that blew her up in popularity. Something noticed about Shy Lily though was her voice.
What's your accent? I'm German.
She had a high German accent, a bit different from the stereotypical Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. The voice and accent would lead a lot of viewers to compare her to then Shoujo VTuber Vey, known for her British Polish accent.
Please don't clip it, please.
After incessant comments, replies, and comparisons on her stream, Vey would make a response about Shy Lily that would spark controversy.
Dude, quite clueless. You're fucking quite clueless. Please don't talk about that. It's creepy to me, and I don't like it, and I hate it actually, because when you compare stuff from 4 months ago, that person did not sound like me. So, now that they do, it's weird, so we don't talk about it. You ever decided my doppelgang channel? Bro, at that point, I'm at a point where it's like, you wanna settle for less? Go ahead. Or you got the OG.
Shy Lily would of course hear of this response and ultimately wish to keep drama at a low.
Just sunded it, ignore it. Yeah, just ignore it. No drama, only love, exactly. We need drama.
Didn't know that happened.
It sounds
That's
like
kind of
Leia too. We don't
interesting.
even sound alike.
But people had opinions, of course. This would end up creating widespread criticism against Vey while raising Shy Lily up in popularity even more. Some viewers understood why Vey would be peeved about the constant comments about the subject, as that definitely fucks with your mental, but putting down Shy Lily was not the way of dealing with it. Others were happy to uplift Shy Lily and saw it as a promotion of shorts. But this drama is old as shit. Both of them are on good terms now, and I'm like 90% certain that things got handled privately. So again, no drama frogs, don't attack or be rude, it ain't that deep. So what if things don't sound similar, but look similar? Well, Lily, a newly debuted indie VTuber, would reveal her model on Twitter and had many people compare her to Powder, a known indie VTuber, due to color scheme, species, white
Yeah,
hair,
that's
purple
fairly
horns, stuff like
similar.
that. Powder's subtweet, being aware of the lookalike for a while now, would also bring more eyes to the story. She would also post DMs from viewers mentioning the alleged lookalike to her. This has a hella winded situation I'll try to quickly summarize for how both sides feel. Lily defended herself with her side. She was well aware of Powder during the design process, but had her own inspirations during redesigning, ultimately deciding, hey, I'ma do my own thing. Combos with her, Powder, and the artist happened, but despite Lily explaining her deep personal reasoning for choices, Powder ultimately didn't believe her, which felt crushing for Lily. Later, when Powder was asked if there was anything about the work in progress that concerned her, she would cut combos. She's well aware of the designs being similar with color palette and lore name, but see both her and Powder as different personalities and wishes to continue what she loves, which is streaming. Powder would push out her side. She was long involved in the situation with her own pointers. After deliberation and worries about looking like the lookalike, she ultimately decided she was not comfortable with branding similarities, and even asked around it from both sides. But the subject of changes didn't exactly go her way. Too many things overlap behind the scene for Powder to be comfortable, and to her, them going forward without
That's unfortunate that they both couldn't exist. I did notice, like, they looked fairly similar, but I'd say that it's different enough. And since they weren't exactly, like, acting like each other, as he said, they were two different people, different personalities, I don't think it would be that bad. But who knows? I'm new to
changing made
this.
her feel
I'm
personally
clueless.
disregarded. Feeling powerless and stressed from the situation, she spoke with her designer and ultimately cut conversations for her sanity. There's a bit more, but TLDR, private convos resulted in no solution, shit went public,
And everybody's wildin' now.
there were two different points I saw. On one hand, several VTubers see their
That
designs as
sucks.
expressions of themselves and are protective of it. Then why go with the design that'll get you constantly compared to someone else? I'd personally avoid that. On another hand, no one can claim a color scheme or species. Yuri doesn't own blue sea creatures or hoodies. Yanners didn't originate pink cat girls. I can't copyright Black Fallen Angels or my cat break jokes I use in every single video. At the end of the day, you just keep creating and let them deal with it. I couldn't care less to really pick a side, but when it comes to similarities, God, thank you for making me black. I automatically stand out in this space by merely existing. So that's how it should have ended, right? Oh yeah, I conveniently ignored what happened with the other Powder responses. Okay, I will always say that feelings and emotions are valid, but what actions one does will get them judged by the mass regardless of them. Because to the audience, it ain't about
Exactly.
you, it's about your message. It's what you do with those feelings. And I do get Powder's frustration here, but
How does this turn into this?
some other tweets were made. Bitterness into bitter replies into comments that f***ed her PR into another meme. Oh my god, stop talking! Please, shut up!
Please!
That seems a bit extreme.
It became a hella
much
yikes
so.
situation. People got very mad at her, and we're going to move on. Similar to the Vey and Shy Lily thing, both move on. Support whoever, don't be rude or weird to either. We talked a bit about Shy Lily earlier. The Orca Cat Mix indie VTuber has a uniquely soft German accent, also loves saying the phrase womp womp. She grew into her hit icon in the scene. Hell, I made a video about it a while ago. So look at her, and now look at this.
He copied my whole flow.
And it lasted over 6 months. An indie VTuber
Really?
by the
That
name
long?
of Smo Lola would appear in late 2023. She would make shorts and clips when on November 23rd, certain comments would appear comparing her likeness to Shy Lily. Her archetype, design, phrases, and most notably, swim outfit. Smo Lola would adamantly defend herself against the quote, drama Shy Lily fans had unfortunately brought to her. Push back on this later. Although you could definitely see similarities, it's not enough to dictate copying or plagiarism, so most people believe Smo Lola, gave her support from hate, and moved on. But when this first happened, two things stuck out to me. The names, Shy Lily, Smo Lola. But you know, it wasn't my business. On December 5th, she announced getting a 2.0 to avoid the Shy Lily allegations, and I thought, hey, with the new designs, I hope shit gets better for her. Then the copying drama came up again in January.
Again.
A weird account by the name of Emi Sakura V2 made a tweet calling out how Smo Lola's work in progress model seemed like straight up copying Shy Lily's. This model having been leaked after Smo Lola showed it on her then private stream. I say weird because this account, along with two other accounts that made negative posts against Smo Lola, don't even feel like real people.
Whose mess is this?
All appeared in late September 2023, all based off cheap pre-made Etsy models, all have weird ChatGPT-like bios and introductions, and then all hella inactive until January 15th to call out the small VTuber.
Who are you people?
Similar to last time, people sided and
That's
defended her, she got some
weird.
followers out of it, and then I actually saw the leaked design.
Accounts that are stealing my content and posting it in a fake duet format.
And then, this drama came up again in June. 3 times over 6 months. You can guess I'm getting tired of it. But this time, the script completely changed. When the same instance happens so often with one specific person, people begin to question, how does this one person end up in the same thing so often? Once, it's a chance. Twice, it's a coincidence. Third time it happens.
Honestly, if I didn't know that they were two different people, I would honestly think that was Shy Lily. Like, that is a line that has definitely been way too far beyond crossed, as I'm not able to identify that those are two different people just looking at that.
What is that?
It gotta be on you. So people notice things they previously missed from before. Way too many similarities. The design, the tail, the ears, the outfit, the fish in the mouth, the glow-in-the-dark visual effect, the names, logos, VTuber hybrid archetype, and especially the silhouettes, cause tell me at first glance you tell these two apart.
They're the same picture.
Someone even recolored the model to look like Shy Lily. And then another thought appeared. Didn't she say at first nothing was similar or inspired by Lily? That she'd change her design in the 2.0 to be less like her? How are we still here? This time she did admit there were similarities in designs, but loved her design regardless. However, saying hers is a direct ripoff of Shy Lily's is false and frankly rude. But why would you make these design choices if you wanted to move away from the comparisons? People started to switch sides, and then allegations came out about her voice. Some people believe Smo Lola faked her voice in the present to sound more like Shy Lily, whose German accent is actually pretty damn uncommon.
You guys are stuck. I can't get you guys to move.
I heard you like VTubers, and if you haven't noticed yet, I happen to be one.
I kind of hear a soft accent in the original, so I can believe that's her real voice. The constant other stuff didn't help her case though. The internet saw the overabundance of similarities, the acts of imitation, the sheer amount of coping, and the inconsistency of statements and potential lies, and it became a fucking shitstorm. Memes upon memes and public callouts about copying and plagiarism. Even her OG artist came in like, yeah, there's a good chance he wants to be Shy Lily. Some artists made free designs
Wow,
to
when
maybe
even
help
your
her
own
out. She was
artist
even
calls you
interviewed
out
by
on it.
VTuber Alara to give her side, and somehow the interview made her look worse. But there was one thought in my head. I was aware of this dilemma from the beginning, but majority of the time I was wondering how Shy Lily felt experiencing all this. Cause imagine you, Lily. Over 6 months, you wake up seeing everyone wildin' and now your name getting thrown around. And eventually, Shy Lily made a response to the months-long drama.
I'ma just say it the way it is. I have nothing to say. Leave me be. I'm at a size where no matter what I say, it's wrong. If I express any amount of uncomfortableness
For the lack of a better word, I'm the big bad wolf. If I pretend like it's not a big deal and don't care, I set a new standard that is encouraging people to do the same, and it's kind of disrespecting a lot of artists because it's basically like, you know what? All the work, skill, and effort artists put out there, just f***ing steal it. Who gives a shit? It'd be nice if people stop putting words in my mouth. I'm staying out of it for reasons, and I know my chat is not involved in it either. So if people could stop pretending like I've made any public opinions about whatever, or that my chat is doing anything to whomever, both of those are untrue. And I can prove it. That's all I wanted to say. I'm tired of that stuff being brought up. I don't like drama. Everyone who respects me knows that. So, yeah.
People consider this one of the best responses to a drama like this. And I definitely agree with the point.
That's really sad, actually. I know that as a person, I get very hot-headed. I'd probably not be man enough to sit up there like her and keep my mouth shut and try to be calm in those situations. God, I think I'd be losing it. But no, that's actually a really sad point, though. She's, as she said, at a size where she's too big. Like, even I know about her, and I know almost nothing. Like, I don't know anything about Niji Sanji, Hololive, and all those other big corps. Like, I have heard of Gargura, who's been talked about today. That's literally it. That's all I know from Corpo VTube. And I'm like brand new to the community, but like she's big enough that if whatever she says, she's just bullying the smaller creators, so she can't really stand up about it. So she's just kind of forced to sit there and take the beating. That's depressing, actually. That would be so stressful. I can't believe someone actually having to go through that.
Around Shy Lily fans, because Shy Lily fans spreading hate and sparking drama? Do you know Shy Lily fans? They are way more concerned with looking up porn of their Oshi than spreading hate around her. But where did that leave Smolola? Smolola would make a final response, ultimately stating she could have handled a lot of things more maturely. By her words, she never intended to hurt people or start drama, but she emphasized that she was not a victim. Hate sucks and she wanted to vent, but she could have avoided this situation. She further states that her voice is not fake, as she previously spoke with low energy. She didn't expect a bunch of artists to give free designs when she asked for advice, and it was never her intent to engagement bait or drama farm. However, on the topic of plagiarism, she admits she took too much inspiration and apologizes to Shy Lily and her other artists, stating she has plans for a new redesign. She first thought of graduating and leaving, then decided she would then go on an indefinite hiatus, and now she's back on Twitter under a new Abby and her account locked, and I'll respect that privacy. I see Smolola's case like countless inspiring content creators out there. They want to do what works and look up to the top performers, but end up imitating aspects of them too much, getting lost in the sauce, and caught for inconsistency, where whether they believe so or not, the mass will see them as the copycat. Ultimately, come to your own conclusion, but don't be bullying or harassing. That shit's lame as fuck. A VTuber by the name of Ume Kaitu popped into the scene showing off his model and announcing his debut for the summer of 2024. It looks kinda clean, right? But what if I told you this VTuber design was never his own?
You is in trouble.
A VTuber by the name of Meepsheet VT made a call-out post showing that his VTuber directly plagiarized a design by artist Yube-san.
Hey y'all, come look at this.
Same hair color, same hairstyle, same scarf, same eyes, same flower assets, even the horns.
I mean, technically you're me.
No. I'm me. You're
okay, yeah.
I don't have nothing to do with the you was doing.
Plus, with no direct mention or credit to the original person or design, it paints a bad picture. Yube-san, the original artist, would come out and say that Ume asked him to use the original artist. Yube-san said,
no.
But yet, after seeing Ume Kaito use the design regardless, Yube-san asked to just change the floral and gold decorations. As you see, he didn't. Ume Kaito would make a swifty response to the accusation, saying that he, quote, never stated that I did not use the artwork as a reference, interesting double negative, but would rather keep the discussions with the artists, but ultimately wanted no one harassed and taking responsibility. But later, even more would be exposed. Even after requests, he kept using the original artist's design. And after this, other artists came out with their own personal experiences with Ume not being the greatest customer, actively going against terms of service or standards to demand changes to keep it his way. After all that, bro, had to deactivate. But it gets even worse. You have to factor in that somebody else, an entire separate studio, was the one who created this VTuber model. Do you think they knew about all this?
Nope.
They had their own experience. They write for transparency and accountability surrounding what was going on, especially behind the scenes. According to them, Ume had claimed the artwork as his OC or original character, and with the artist doing a Google search and finding no results, they didn't really suspect stealing, so they, move forward. But the situation didn't end there. Persistent disrespect and mistreatment that the artist experienced from Ume compelled them to speak out. Here's what they say. Quote, he frequently breached terms of service by insisting on minutely detailed and stringent revisions under the guise of perfectionism. He'd continued to demand overly meticulous adjustments, emphasizing his critical nature toward artistic work. Moreover, his specific request for us to follow exactly the head, hairstyle, and headpiece were clean indications of his intent to base his model on the OG artwork. And when you scroll these DMs and specific messages, I'm like, what? This nigga was obsessed with that design.
Shit, you already know I'm obsessed with it.
I get he's kind of nice, but you gotta let it go. With all this controversy going on, DG Studio regrets the creation of the model, offers sincere apologies, and would move forward to commit to verifying the origins of all references. A lot of things were being said about this guy, none of them good. And then, he faded away from the internet, a distant memory, never to be seen again. Yeah, plot twist, a document dropped 3 months later. Ume Kaito would put out a doc as an apology and explanation. In October 2023, Ume found Yube's design on Pinterest, fell in love with it, and wanted something very similar with minor changes when getting into VTubing. However, his ultimate stubbornness and wrong beliefs around owning the design, co-opting hairstyles and accessories, falsely claiming he obtained permission to use the OC as a reference, stressing exact perfection on the look, and incessant changes directed at artists breaking TOS would be his downfall. He states that he never intended to upset the people working on the model, was always willing to pay extra if necessary, but after reading experiences from the artists and people involved, he feels genuinely sorry about his actions. There are other things he mentions, like difficulties with verbal expression, dyslexia, not being a native speaker, deleting his account due to the large hate, attacks, and threats he received, and feeling like a terrible person to the point of attempting on his life. After taking time to rebuild himself and grasp the situation, he will return and take accountability and apologize to everyone, Yubei-san, DG Studios, the artists, everyone. He also addresses other accusations. A tracing accusation from Wildheart that was confirmed false, and his experiences with Madame Mito and Acure VR, where he admits to requesting several different minor changes. He believed everything was fine and kinda wished they'd tell him DMs if the requests were disrespectful, but he ultimately apologizes for hurting them. And that's the gist. So here's my thing. Remember how I said VTubing cares a lot about artistic principles and beliefs? You know what's a very big artistic principle? Don't plagiarize.
I'll take that. It's mine now.
And that is the clearest case I have ever seen for VTuber plagiarism. There's just not an argument against it. The other behaviors, disrespecting artists, the lies, regardless, you're just gonna have to hold that. But I'm glad he's, alive and doing better. Shit like this is heavy, and no matter one's actions or reputation, no one should feel to go down that route. And as always, harassing and death threats are fucking unnecessary. So, however he does with returning to streaming, best of luck. But that's enough punching down on small niggas. It personally feels a bit better to punch up on those bigger. Speaking of bigger, if you're a VTuber fan, you've definitely heard of the name Fillion, previously a VR chat streamer turned indie VTuber who blew up in popularity to her YouTube shorts, effectively becoming the 4th most popular VTuber in the world, and most notably a lot of merch. Signed posters, shirts and hoodies, U2s, cups, figurines, and plushies. Even got her VTuber skin featured in a racing game. Hi, this is Fillion's manager. If you want to make merch of her for conventions, go for it. My manager is me. That should put into perspective how big Fillion is. So let me tell you how big of a revelation it was to hear that she never owned the copyright to her design and model. She allegedly never paid money for the model. And one merch event would expose a large tirade of negligence that could have ended far worse for her, because she basically got caught stealing.
Okay.
Enter 2 parties. Party 1, Good Smile Company. Good Smile is a Japanese manufacturer company that focuses on hobby products like sets, acrylics, and figures. Most notably though, Nendoroid. And if you remember my VTuber merch video and how I feel about Nendoroid, look at this! She's so adorable! They're pretty damn good. And on July 4th, they would announce a Fillion Nendoroid. This was expectedly a huge deal. Uh-oh, Fillion states, quote retweeting the post. before, we never got permission from the original model artist for shit like this. Enter Party 2, Jingo. Jingo is a Japanese VR chat artist that sells pre-made models at an affordable price. A good parallel being those pre-made models aspiring VTubers may buy from Etsy. They also sell a pay-to-use model of their original character Rindo for 7,000 yen. Oh, put the two models together and look at that. A toothpick really changes everything. Fillion's model isn't even Fillion's, but rather a recolored version of Jingo's model. An artist on Twitter posted a meme converting Rindo into Fillion's current design in just over 3 minutes. And if you want to know how easy it is to make this 3D design into Fillion, it is just that easy. And there's no world where it's enough to claim as your own, or worse, sell merch.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
Copyright 2024 Fillion.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
Jingo would have a bit to say regarding this Fillion and Good Smile deal. Quote, "This morning I received many messages about the announcement posted by Good Smile Company about the production of a Nendoroid based on a VTuber who used my Rindo model as a base for their avatar. Since I found out when I was still traveling, it took me a while to figure out what was going on. I did not receive any prior communication from Good Smile Company nor the VTuber in question about the production of this Nendoroid figure. From my point of view, the fact that there was an announcement of plans to professionally produce a figure based on my character, even though I have yet to hear about this, is very puzzling. I am currently in the process of communicating with Good Smile Company and the VTuber in question, and am awaiting a response. Since this situation involves companies, not just individual people, it will take a bit of time for everything to be resolved. I hope you all can understand this. Please wait for the outcome." Let's do a bit of digging into why this was a big issue for Fillion. First, in Jingo's terms of service, after the purchase of the model, they permit it for personal use and even video and live streaming use. However, when it comes to tangible goods like merch, you gotta contact. As you can tell, shit never happened. Second, Jingo isn't the only party that Fillion had had this happen to. What about this Mint model that she used early in her career? She even featured it in racing games and plushie merch. Turns out, this was a refurbished model from another Japanese VR chat artist by the name of Kamado. And they heard about the situation in relation to past merch and relate that they never gave Fillion permission around those items. And if you thought it couldn't get worse, people found some other clips.
"You are so beautiful. I'm so glad that you like this model that I paid $0 for and I'm using for free."
Maybe some kind soul gifted it to her?
What if I took my VR chat model and I started face tracking with it? So what I did was I went and ripped the model from VR chat illegally. I uploaded it into some software that I downloaded off the internet.
That was really bad.
So you can imagine why this was a fucking business nightmare. Fillion had sold thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of merch off models she knew were someone else's, and she went against TOS and never reached out about this. All of this plus the ripping of shit that's just seen as disrespecting artists. Second, copyright infringement. That is a crime, especially in commercial merchandising situations. We are now in legal territory. Do you understand how seriously the Japanese takes copyright?
You think it's a game? You think it's a f***ing game?
You avoid that altogether. Good Smile saw the giant controversy underway and deleted the announcement right afterwards. Indeed, my nigga! This is a bad situation. Some of y'all may know of the VTuber Neurosama, Vidal987's AI VTuber that blew up in 2023 due to its prompts creating wacky and engaging responses with the stream. At first, Neurosama's model was Momose Hiyori, a default model in VTube Studio. But once business became a foresight, Vidal commissioned VTuber Annie for a transformative redesign. This helped breathe new light in Neurosama and gave her her own base avatar while effectively avoiding potential legal liabilities regarding commercial and merchandising operations. But that's the go-to path. And for the fourth biggest VTuber in the world to let a massive screw-up like this happen is just not good. Like, as a brand, there's no excuse you can make for this. You gotta commission your own shit at this point. And you've had years to work this dilemma out. As a result, thousands upon thousands has been gained off of something you don't own. Did Jingo know about the other merch items before this? Her clips claiming she ripped the model?
I had no idea any of this happened. This is just
Fillion would make a
absolutely
short
crazy.
response about the situation on her stream.
So real quick, chat. Want to say real quick. So I've been talking to the artist behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys saw her tweet like yesterday. but we're working together on proceeding in a way that like protects her rights and it's compliant with the EUA, the EULA. So I'll let you know when there's an update. But with that being said, chat.
And Ringo, after all private conversations, would have their final say on supposedly proceeding. With Jingo's rights, they permit anyone using the model for anything, including indie VTuber activities. However, just because they purchase a booth model doesn't mean they own it. You're effectively renting it. Moreover, any usage of her model in a highly profitable or commercial sense, like production of goods, requires notification in advance, and if one isn't an indie VTuber or from an agency, they have to reach out about the model's usage. Most notably, quote, the part of this that I took issue with was that even though the VTuber did not own the copyright to the character, they proceeded with the project and formed a contract with the company without notifying the original creator of the character in question. As follows, I have requested that the production schedule for this character merchandising product be stopped altogether. I am not after any royalties or other financial incentives. I simply wish to protect the copyright of my characters. To allow this, such as through the sale of copyright licenses, would mean that every character derived from my model would have its own copyright, and as a result, those who use the same models as bases may become in some fucking copyright disputes. They end off reiterating that their booth models are for everyone, not just one person, and as long as the design is not completely one's own, no matter how many changes they make to it, the copyright is non-negotiable because traces of the original author will still remain. So given the entire situation, that's why I said at the beginning, shit could have gone a lot worse for Fillion, because there's now money involved. Afterwards, the Fillion Good Smile project was effectively suspended. Fillion Co., her merch website that she had announced in the past, is completely empty now with further merch plans being unknown. Remember that manager tweet she made? Yeah, that's gone too. And I can't really find any further statements or apologies regarding the matter. She just kinda moved on. So was this an honest mistake or gross negligence? Come to your own conclusion, but regardless, that shit's on her.
Like
Plus there's that other
to me.
artist, I didn't see a further response from them. Of course, don't harass, attack, or be dicks to anybody here. But another question, will Fillion be getting a new model? If she wants to do merch again, she has to. But hey, if you can joke about breaking that much VR equipment, you definitely got the money to get your own model and not be ripping shit. Before we end the video and all this drama, let's have a moment. Have you ever heard this phrase before when it comes to art? Nothing is original anymore. Let me explain. Due to human history dating back for a damn long time, unless it's a completely new invention, someone somewhere on this planet we call Earth has sparked a product, service, or idea, because everything is built on pre-existing resources from before. Therefore, nothing is original. But as American writer Austin Kleon explains, all creative work builds on what came before. Every new idea is just a remix of two previous ideas. Hell, he even made a book titled How to Steal Like an Artist, because that's what artists do. They take things but emulate it in their own personal style. What makes something original is by making your own.
That is exactly what I was actually talking about at the beginning of this video, was how all art is getting inspiration from something and then making it into something else. There's a bit of copying is what it is, but it's the changes and putting your own spin on everything that truly makes art what art is. And I really liked that he brought this back up at the end of the video, because it's honestly true.
New and curious combinations. Let's make it very clear. The VTubing industry is oversaturated as all hell. There are hundreds of talented creators who may have a similar attribute to someone who came before or is more popular. And I'm not really a fan of no-names putting down others' creative work for simply being a similar identity, coincidence, or having inspiration. But there's a clear difference between inspiration and straight up stealing shit. Some may say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but sometimes it's the sincerest way of getting caught in 4K.
How did they get you in 4K?
Because that's on you. Ultimately, if you want to become a creator at all, don't let any of this discourage you. Take the knowledge from before in stride, learn from references, and be the best creator you can be. Just have a bit of authenticity. But hey, I seem to really love copying my Oshi Koryex Kenshin.
What the hell are you talking about?
Making a video and then disappearing for months.
He copied my whole flow.
Alrighty, so that's it. That's the 3 videos I had decided to watch for today. All videos will be linked in the description, although I can't make links, so it will just be the tags, as well as the homepages of their channels. So if you end up finding any of these videos through me somehow, go give them a like, subscribe, and all that. And all of the videos today, they covered a lot. Like, first one taught me actually a lot about the industry because I didn't know half the things that go on in the background. And it's really good that that was made because I don't know what I'm doing quite yet. And the second video was really nice just to like actually make me think about how my time management works and what I need to focus on and where I should spend more time, and that I should spend a bit less time streaming, although I probably will just continue streaming the way I want. But making the videos about what I do on my stream just sounds so valuable. Reusing the content, that way I'll be able to get stuff out of it, because there's no way anybody's going to go and watch the 2-hour VOD. So, yeah, should definitely do that. And I felt like watching the third video for irony's sake, because sitting down and making my first actual video react slop, I figured something about copying, plagiarism, and stealing in the VTuber community would be ironic. So, figured I'd go with that. And I learned a lot from this. Like, this video is insane. Like, I knew that copycats and plagiarism is, of course, going to be a thing. It's in every industry. But, like, we got the Shy Lily stuff. Like, this is just whatever, but the full-on, like, one-to-one model almost, like, that is crazy to me. Then this guy's just insane. I'm glad he's healthy, he's safe, and all that, and manned up and apologized for his stuff, but still, like, wow. And then the entire Fillion situation, I didn't even know that. Like, I've actually watched Fillion, and that's insane to me. And as I said at the time, it's like, I don't think that was an accident. That sounds like negligence, because she's even come out on recording and said that she completely ripped the model. And so, like, she knew. She is super lucky that the artist didn't decide to pursue anything, because, like, I'm pretty sure she would have been dead on arrival. That is insane. So yeah, once again, videos will be linked. Thank you for watching the video, especially if you made it to this point. I have no idea how. You are a stronger man than I, and have a good night.